So good evening and welcome to this international webinar at Believers Church Medical College and Hospital. This is our 69th webinar and it's a very, very important one. We are right in the middle of a pandemic and it's a raging war that we are waging. And our only arsenal, apart from all the COVID appropriate behavior, is vaccines, and we are hell-bent on procuring them and getting ourselves jabbed. So it's very, very natural that we need to know more, much more about our vaccines, and we have 1,000 questions. So today we have in our midst the principal investigator of the Sputnik 5 trial from Eastern India, Dr. Subrajyoti Bhaumik. He is a gold medalist from the MBBS in MBBS from Calcutta University, MD Pharma from IPGMER Calcutta, Certificate in Clinical Research, Administration Project Management from Stanford. He did his certificate in patient safety at the prestigious Johns Hopkins University, Fellowship in Healthcare Quality from the International Society of Quality in Healthcare, Ireland, and he's also a qualified NABH assessor for the Ethics Committee Accreditation and has conducted innumerable trainings and workshops in clinical trial methodology, research ethics, evidence-based medicine, and biostatistics. With a number of publications under his belt and also being the 2017 CAHO Young Quality Achieving Award, he has also been conferred the most promising healthcare professional in patient safety by the Asian African Chamber of Commerce and Industry. An extremely learned man and a brilliant administrator, a great clinician. It's a great privilege to have in our midst Dr. Subrajyoti Bhaumik, who is currently the Clinical Director of Academics, Medical Quality and Clinical Research at Peerless Hospital and BK Roy Research Center, Kolkata. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. And at the outset, let me thank you for this invitation, Jacob, because I'm very happy to be here. It's an honor for me, and I would definitely say that thank you for organizing this important webinar. I personally believe that this is something which we all must know and promote as well. So let me share your screen.
Sir, one second, sir. I'm going to use the moderator.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and moderate this session and take the session forward, we have none other than our dynamic assistant professor of community medicine, Dr. Sangeeta Jitin. After completing her MBBS and MD in community medicine from Kottayam Medical College with flying colors, she has joined us as an illustrious researcher, teacher, and also a community physician. She's been at the forefront of the pandemic right from the beginning, and she has also taken over the important responsibility of vaccine administration and vaccine. The entire responsibility of vaccines is with her. She is our Chief Vaccination Officer. So Sangeeta, it's a great privilege to have you also in our midst. So let me, without much ado, let me hand over the session to you. Over to you, Sangeeta.
Thank you, sir, for your kind words. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, Sangeeta, you're audible.
Yeah, so I think we'll begin the session because Bhaumik sir has to leave at sharp 7. So we all know that COVID-19 vaccines, we believe, have come to rescue us from the pandemic. But of course, just like me, a lot of people have their own speculations, their own anxieties, and even expectations about the vaccine. So I think this is exactly the right time to talk on this topic, COVID-19 vaccines, facts and myths. I'm extremely happy to share the platform with such a renowned person such as Bhaumik sir. And over to you, sir, for your presentation. Sir, you're not audible. Sir, you're not audible.
Yeah, sorry. I just went mute. So thank you, Dr. Sangeeta, and I'm extremely honored to be here. And without wasting much time, let us jump into the topic. We'll talk about COVID-19 vaccine, but definitely COVID-19 disease is something which, as a customary, we must reiterate few points about COVID-19 disease as well. So, what I'll begin with a disclaimer that all views expressed are here are personal, and none of them have any association with my employer or any other organization I work or I consult with. So, what is coronavirus? I did not talk to this particular August gathering, but the most important thing about coronavirus is that they have been present since ages. It's not that COVID-19 is a new virus which we have discovered only in 2019. This used to exist before, and there were outbreaks which were in the form of MERS and SARS in the last 2 decades. So, we were getting an indication that a pandemic was coming, but we were more busy with our busy lives, and we have not taken those indications from Mother Nature that something untoward like the COVID pandemic was going to happen. So, this particular virus, which is the SARS-CoV-2 virus, has changed our lives forever. Never ever we are going to be as same as pre-COVID days, because many of the lives have been lost. We have lost many near and dear ones and many senior doctors, our fellow doctors in this war in COVID-19. And why this has happened? Because this is a highly contagious disease. It spreads from an infected person to another person. And within millions, within few months, we know worldwide it has infected millions as well as killed millions as well. So well, the virus spreads, as we all know, through contagious droplets, and it can spread through mouth, nose, and eyes by touching the surface. So that's the reason that effective use of mask is considered as the most important weapon against this COVID-19 virus. Now, there are few studies which are coming from the from West, which is also linking it with the spread in the stool of infected person, but no such report has been reported from India. And people who are usually coughing or have sneezing or in the upper, they usually have upper respiratory tract infection, they become the most infectious. So we need to be very careful when we are coming across these patients. And I think it's extremely important to learn in our country to have proper cough etiquettes and proper, I would say, this is an extremely important thing. And the other interesting part or the dangerous part of the disease is 80% of the disease, people who are diseased have asymptomatic infection. So you will never come to know that these people are spreading the disease. So prevention is the only strategy. I'll spend some couple of minutes, not much, on the medical mask. And I must reiterate that during this outbreak, medical masks are to be used. The cloth Gucci mask usually is of not great importance. And let me tell you that the surgical masks are not for reusing. Many people are washing them with Ariel and they're again taking them to their hospital next day. It is not to be done, not recommended by the WHO. And the N95 mask can only be reused after it has been kept in UV radiation for at least 48 hours. So please remember this. So these are our susceptible people who can get very bad outcome of COVID-19. Patients who have bad immunity, patients who have less immunity, patients with cancer, patients with HIV, chronic kidney disease, chronic lung disease, dementia, diabetes, heart conditions like heart failure, chronic artery disease, coronary artery disease, cardiomyopathies. One of the common questions which is asked is, I have an uncle who's got COPD. I have an auntie who has got type 2 diabetes mellitus for 10 years. Can she take a vaccine? Ladies and gentlemen, if they are at the most vulnerable of getting the most the worst outcome of the disease, they are the first people to receive the vaccine. So this is the first take-home message, ladies and gentlemen, that people who are the most vulnerable, they must receive their vaccines. And there should be no dilemma in the brain of any doctor, any medical professionals, that if anybody or of us knows these kind of patients, they have to be recommended for vaccine. Now we know that this COVID-19 prevention is better there, and we have to prevent it through COVID-19 vaccines. I only want to reiterate on certain things, that treatment options are there, but only three things have been proved to be effective. And the most important effective treatment which has been proved is oxygen. Number two is steroids. And number three are the blood thinners, because the treatment options are changing. You to look about this drug, hydroxychloroquine. Hydroxychloroquine, everybody was thinking was a wonder drug. It will change the way how the COVID-19 will be managed. In fact, one of the past president of a great country went on to say that this was a miracle drug. But unfortunately, this did not happen. This is our paper, which we have published in Clinical Drug Investigation, where we had done the meta-analysis and showed that there was so less data worldwide. This is in May 2021, May 2020, and we were one of the first papers, first group in the world to rule out hydroxychloroquine in COVID-19. So if we really look at the global scenario of the vaccine development, it is very, very strong. Nowhere in the world has the world come together for any disease to develop vaccines. 184 in preclinical development, 84 in human clinical trials. Imagine 84 vaccines in human clinical trials, 15 vaccines in the phase 3 trials, and already now this 5 has changed to 7 now. They have 5 vaccines are in the post-license phase. If you look at India, India is the pharmacy of the world, and India is doing great in terms of COVID-19 vaccine development. We should be proud as Indians. Why? The list, look at this list. 9 vaccines are being prepared in our country, and some of them are already in use. Covishield already in use, Covaxin already in use, Sputnik is already in use. Very, very soon, ladies and gentlemen, you will hear the news that Zycov-D vaccine, which is the world's first DNA plasmid vaccine, will be approved, because there is a data is lying with DCGI, and I'm very, very hopeful that by end of this month or by early August, we will see the approval of Zycov-D vaccine. And I'm going to get into few details of these. We have the Novavax vaccine, which the trial has not happened in the country, but we have now data coming from US as well as from from Mexico, saying that it is 90% effective in preventing COVID-19 virus. Now let us talk about, I'm very, very happy and I'm very, very proud that Bharat Biotech International is taking the level of vaccine development to the next stage, where we are in the process of developing the nasal vaccine. Is this going to be the game changer? That's what the question is can India provide the game changer to the world? So currently, if we look at the scenario in the country, there are 3 vaccines. And ladies and gentlemen, they are all authorized for emergency use. Now, what is emergency use for my people who are attending here? It is that the vaccine development usually requires 5 to 6 years, sometimes 10 years. But can we wait for such a long time when millions of Indians are infected, when thousands are dying? We can't. We just can't. So we need to do an interim analysis of the phase 3 trials, and the government of India through the DCGI can emergency, or through the emergency authorization which is provided, which is one of the clause which is there with the DCGI's office, can approve these vaccines. So that the 3 vaccines which are currently approved in India are through emergency authorization. Please don't have a notion that the trials have finished completely. Now, let me tell you, the Pfizer vaccines, the Moderna vaccines of the world, they have not completed their clinical trials as well. So if many people tell us that, the Pfizer vaccine is better, the Moderna vaccine is better because they have completed the emergency, or they have completed their trials, please be not be mistaken, because they are also are approved under emergency authorization. So we need to understand who will take the COVID-19 vaccine. Anybody and everybody will take the COVID-19 vaccine unless and until you have a history of anaphylaxis from any of the similar like vaccine, or you will have, I would say, you are allergic to any of the component. So anybody who's 18 years and above will take the vaccine, and it can't be emphasized enough that the individual risk varies from person to person. India started vaccination rollout in a very, very sequential manner. And this was required because the doctors who are sitting here, they are our precious, precious soldiers. They were fighting the battle. So the healthcare workers, the police force, they got the vaccine in the first phase. Then it was given to this about 60 years of age, and then about 45 years, along with 45 years with COVID comorbid condition. From May 2021, we are seeing everybody in the country above 18 years getting the vaccine. Now, jumping into the vaccine, Covaxin is our indigenous vaccine. We should be proud about this vaccine because India has developed this vaccine in collaboration with Bharat Biotech, along with ICMR and National Institute of Virology. The preprint server publication has come out yesterday of Covaxin, and the phase 3 trial data shows it has 78% efficacy in preventing COVID disease in more than 25,000 Indian participants. The huge clinical trial which has conducted in the Indian participants is about 25,000, huge number. And what is also very heartening to know is that the Delta variant, which caused havoc in the country and has now spread to over 85 nations in the world and is feared to cause more waves in different parts of the world, this vaccine is showing 65.2% efficacy in this clinical trial. So this is an important data coming in for Covaxin. What is this Covaxin? Covaxin is nothing but it's a dead vaccine, or what we say, it is a killed vaccine. So the entire coronavirus body has been taken along with the nucleocapsid and the spike protein and has been injected into the body, and antibodies are being produced. Covishield, on the other hand, has been developed by Serum Institute of India, Pune, along with Oxford University, which has developed the vaccine, and and its another industry partner is AstraZeneca. The still recorded date efficacy is 76%. And the most important thing about Oxford vaccine is that it is a two-dose vaccine, just like Covaxin. The Oxford vaccine is the base is the chimpanzee adenovirus. So you have the chimpanzee adenovirus, which is inject on the chimpanzee adenovirus. You have the spikes of coronavirus which have been put, and ultimately the antibody is against the spike. The same way Sputnik is developed, you have the vehicle or the platform of a human adenovirus, and the spikes are of the coronavirus. But ladies and gentlemen, please remember that these adenoviruses, whether they belong to chimpanzee or they belong to human, they don't have any potential to cause any infection. So many a times people are asking me, I am getting vaccine associated COVID-19. Absolutely myth, can never happen, because it is, firstly, Covaxin is a dead virus. Secondly, the Covishield and Sputnik, they don't even have a coronavirus in totality. It is only the portion of the coronavirus which has been taken. So please apply your brains when these things comes to our mind that injection is giving me corona infection. This is the biggest myth which is going around. And we need to do a lot of awareness campaign. In Bengal, we are running this awareness campaign. I'm regularly writing in newspapers about why we should increase the dosing. The dosing was increased. There is a huge question that why did the government increase the dosing from 6 weeks to all of a sudden to 84 days? Do you have published medical literature in Lancet by Professor Shaw, which shows that on 80, if you do the clinical trial which was done, and it was found the efficacy rising to 81% from 76%. So Covishield and Covaxin are, I would say, very suited for the Indian condition, because it requires 2 to 8 degrees Celsius refrigeration. Sputnik, on the other hand, right now, what Sputnik is available in India requires a minus 20-degree freezer. How many of our villages have it? How many of our districts have it? We need to ask ourselves. So we need more India-friendly vaccines, and that is the reason really we need to have vaccines like Covaccines and Covishields to be given rampantly to our people. So I've already discussed the component. I'll come to Sputnik vaccine, and I'm very honored to participate in the Sputnik vaccine trial in Eastern India. We were the only site in Kolkata, and this vaccine was in controversy from the beginning when President Putin actually gave its approval even before phase 3 trial. So it started with controversy, but let me tell you, as I have worked with it, whatever my limited experience is, that this vaccine has to be given in 2 doses. It has got the adenovirus based component. So the platform is of adenovirus, and the spike proteins are on the adenovirus, and it is injected at day 0 and day 21. The 1500 Indian volunteers, the trial is still ongoing, and the Sputnik vaccine trial is expected to complete on July 31st, 2021. But, ladies and gentlemen, as I told you, the Indian government did not wait. The Dr. Reddy's laboratory, which is marketing the vaccine in India, went ahead in the month of April to DCGI's office, and they shared the data, which is of course not available in the public domain, showing that the vaccine was working in the Indian population. The Russian data is available and is published in Lancet, and it shows a whooping 91.6% efficacy in the Russian population. More than 20,000 Russians were studied in this phase 3 trial. And India, of course, has this vaccine now. This is the third vaccine. So if we look at, this is a snapshot, this picture is a snapshot of what are the different vaccines which are available in the world. We would like to have the Pfizer's, we would like to have the Moderna. Moderna has been approved in our country. But my only one question to everybody who wants to get the Moderna, are we able to ensure minus 20 degrees Celsius cold chain everywhere? Because if we can't ensure it, please remember the vaccine will be ineffective. Because when I did the clinical trials, we were bothered and bugged by the laboratory people, the Dr. Reddy's laboratory people, that even it was becoming minus 15, the vaccine was becoming could not be used in trial participants. So please be careful that whether we will be able to use these quote unquote westernized vaccines in a country like India, which is still in a very, very developing stage. Our Oxford, our Sputniks, have to be like Indians, and that is the reason Sputnik vaccine formulation, which is going to come from August, will be, I've been told by Dr. Reddy's laboratory, will be in 2 to 8 degrees Celsius. You have the Johnson and Johnson single dose vaccine, and the government of India is seriously thinking to bring this single dose vaccine into the country. They are in talks with the Johnson and Johnson major. One of the biggest advantages is storing 2 to 8 degrees Celsius. This is maybe we require single dose Johnson and Johnson vaccine because we still have more than, I would say, 95 crore people to be vaccinated in our country. Chinese vaccines, of course, are out of question, I would say. And Covaccine is our own vaccine. Novavax, this is another protein-based vaccine, I would say. Very, very high chance that Biological E in Hyderabad will produce this Novavax vaccine in the country. So Zycov-D, I am personally very, very interested with Zycov-D. This is a DNA plasmid vaccine, and the phase 3 trial interim data has been submitted. And let me tell you, this phase 3 trial data consists of trial data for 800 children. And this is a vaccine which has 3 doses. Now coming to, once you take the vaccine, there will be certain side effects or adverse effects of the vaccine. What are these adverse effects? There could be pain at the injection site. There could be fever, fatigue, headache, muscle pain, chill, and diarrhea. But these are self-limiting. They usually get limited within 72 hours. Less common side effects will be anaphylaxis. But this is very, very rare. 1 in, I would say, 10 million. And everywhere, I would say, wherever we are, the anaphylaxis can happen. the government of India is ensuring, or the state government is ensuring, that you must have your anaphylaxis kit ready. A simple injection of adrenaline and a hydrocortisone with the syringes must be made available in these vaccination centers. So we need not be scared that we will get one jab and we will get into an anaphylaxis. I would say that vaccinations will produce some side effect, because in pharmacology we only believe that drugs, whichever drugs have effect, will have side effects too. So vaccine is also a drug and it will have some side effect. And let us also believe that once we get a jab today, the next day morning, if I get up from bed, I cannot expect that antibodies have been formed. It is not a magic pill. The body will take some time to build. And that is the reason that people have to keep wearing the mask till the time the body forms the antibodies to the maximum. And we still don't know what is that time. Many people, some literature is saying 2 weeks from the second dose. So it is very, very important that COVID appropriate behaviors have to be continued even after you take the first vaccine jab. So it is extremely important that we continue with that. Now I will talk about certain myths of the vaccine. The one of the commonest myth, and this is there in the mindset of the doctors also, that COVID-19 vaccines are unsafe because they were developed so quickly. When others take 6 years, somebody has done fast forward in 6 months. So this is completely developed in a very, very fast manner. The answer to this is they are not unsafe. This is the only condition, I would say, only situation in the world after the World War II where the entire world is fighting together, even if not against each other, but they are fighting together. The red tapeism in the world has come down. Every government wanted the vaccine. So everything was on one side and vaccine development was on the other side. The moment November 2019, when this thing came into the existence, people were preparing for the vaccine. And when January it was called as a pandemic, then people had the vaccine development initiated. So I would say that there have been very, very rigorous tests which have been conducted. The clinical trial methodology, this is not the right forum, but there is a wonderful document from the US FDA, an extremely elaborate document which is also available from the DCGI's office, Drug Controller General Office, on what are the rules to be followed for the development of the COVID-19 vaccine. So that guidance document has guided how these vaccines have to be developed. So they are not developed in hurry and they are not unsafe. The COVID vaccines cannot alter your DNA because there is no interaction. Only the mRNA vaccines, they even if they will only code for the virus and they will leave the body after that. So the vaccines I mentioned, they cannot be any interaction with the DNA, so there cannot be any long-term DNA changing effect. COVID-19 vaccines have severe side effects. Absolutely not. 35 crore dosage have been given. And what is our incidence rate of anaphylaxis? Very, very, very meager. I would say the side effect profile or adverse event following immunization is less than 1% in the country. So we have to be very, very, though our reporting systems have to be strengthened, but with the media now only covering COVID-19, it is going to be very, very difficult for somebody to suppress any kind of serious adverse event following the COVID-19 vaccination. So these have minor side effects. They are not severe side effects. It causes infertility in women. Absolutely not. There is no correlation between infertility and the COVID-19 vaccine, because though the amino acid sequence is shared between the spike protein and the placental protein, the triggered antibody is very spike specific. It cannot produce infertility in the women. And in fact, ladies and gentlemen, if you notice that the government of India very recently has allowed the pregnant women to get vaccinated. Just a week back, they have allowed this thing to happen. So the technical advisory group has recommended it, and the government of India has accepted it. I have already been diagnosed with COVID-19, so I don't need to receive the vaccine. As per the government of India guidelines, the COVID-19 vaccine has to be taken by somebody who has got prior infection, because the antibodies which we have seen after infection can fall down, and these vaccines can act as a booster in these cases. Once I take COVID-19 vaccine, I did not wear a mask. This is not correct, because in a country like India, where different mutations are happening, and I would say where more people are unvaccinated than more people who are vaccinated, we need to take our precautions. So we will have to wear the mask till the government comes out with a new advisory. So you can get COVID-19 from the vaccine. This is absolutely bogus. You cannot get vaccine associated disease. Please remember, many of the doctors harbor this that you got the vaccine, you went and you took the vaccine. When you went and you took the vaccine, it might have happened that you might have contaminated yourself in the vaccination center. But how can a dead vaccine or a dead virus or a virus which does not exist in totality cause COVID-19 infection? So I think we need to correct our basics there. I am not at severe risk. So people are 18-year-old, 22-year-old are saying I should not take the vaccine. You should take the vaccine, because the second wave has shown us that age is not a determining factor of fatality. Many of the younger people have died. It is more to do with how your immune system is responding. And if I receive the COVID-19 vaccine, I am at a greater risk of suffering from any other illness. There is no evidence to suggest that getting the vaccine heightens your risk to become sick from other illnesses like flu. So, what are the do's and don'ts of vaccination? Please get your vaccine when your turn comes. Please contact your physician if your adverse events following immunization don't go beyond 72 hours. It might be that you might be unfortunate and you might have contaminated yourself while you have gone for vaccination. Please help people around us to get the vaccine. The rickshawala, the person who doesn't have the smartphone. Our smartphones can help change. We can register 5 people from phone numbers. Let us please help everyone to get the vaccine, because you have to believe no one is safe until everyone is safe. We have to ensure that everybody of us, every Indian gets the vaccine. Let's stay up to date with vaccination, and I sessions like this in Believers Church College can help people to get updated. Why? What should not be done? Don't stop wearing your mask and totally stopping COVID appropriate behavior because you have taken the vaccine. This could be dangerous and this could be fatal. Don't assume that because you are vaccinated, the others are vaccinated too. So this will be totally delusion. That will take you into trouble. And finally, I would say, apart from COVID-19 vaccination, elderly people in India, time has come, should take the pneumococcal vaccine, because there is a huge study from Mumbai which is shown that many of the patients who died in COVID-19 pneumonia were secondarily infected by Streptococcus pneumoniae. So time has come to propagate the use of streptococcal pneumococcal vaccine as well. So if I summarize my presentation, I would say, after the emergency use, and again, ladies and gentlemen, this is the emergency authorization of DCGI, the process of vaccine administration of Covaxin and Covishield has begun in different parts of the country. Till date, more than 34 crore dosage have been given. We've done a remarkable job. But we still have a long way to go. Sputnik 5 is the newest edition, and vaccination has started across India, and we must promote this vaccine as well, because this is working. The presently 18 years and above are getting vaccinated. Very soon we might have vaccines for children, but till then we have to promote the information that vaccines are safe and they are necessary for all Indians. Please avoid any kinds of myths related to vaccination, and always consult a physician. In this case, I would say Dr. Sangeeta, because she is a vaccination center in charge. She is your vaccination officer for any kind of candid information. Please do not self-medicate, and be in touch through the doctor, to your doctor, through telemedicine. And especially this is for those people who are getting the side effects more than 72 hours. Please don't remain with those side effects for 7 days, 8 days. You might be infected with COVID. So prevention of the disease still now is the best strategy by social distancing, regular hand washing, wearing of mask, and last but definitely not the least, by vaccination. So I'll echo the WHO slogan for the world. Let us be informed, let us be prepared, let us be smart, let us be safe so that we can fight COVID-19 together. Thank you very much. With this, I would like to end my presentation and thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, sir. It was a very informative session, sir. Thank you so much. Now, may I ask you a few questions, sir?
Absolutely, madam. Please go ahead.
So, as a mother myself, I'm quite apprehensive about my children during the COVID times, their safety. So, sir, can we expect vaccinating our children in the near future? And if so, at what age would we start vaccinating them?
That's a very good question, and even I am also concerned about my child. Every parent is. So let me tell you the good news. The good news is that the Covaxin clinical trial in children is nearing the end, and 525 children were included in the phase 2, phase 3 clinical trial, which has been run primarily in all the AIIMS Patna, AIIMS New Delhi, AIIMS Raipur. So, to the latest information, more than 250 children have been vaccinated and they are doing fine. So, we might expect by the end of August that we might receive emergency authorization for Covaxin in India. Number one. Number two, Covishield vaccine is there. The Covishield's UK partner AstraZeneca is already performing a phase 3 clinical trial in 12 to 18 years in the United Kingdom and Scotland. So it is expected that the trial interim analysis will finish by the next month as well. So if that comes up with a positive report, and we definitely hope it will be positive, we might be able to vaccinate our children through Covishield, which is already available in the country. And Zycov-D vaccine, madam, Zycov-D vaccine might also throw a surprise. Zycov-D has already submitted its data for 800 plus patients with a 3-dose regime. They have given 3 doses, and this is currently under the review of the DCGI's office. And I won't be surprised if I find this month Zycov-D being approved for children vaccination in the country, along with adult vaccination to begin with Zycov-D. Because it's an indigenous vaccine developed by Zydus Cadila with adequate support technologically as well as financial support from the Department of Biotechnology, Government of India. So these three are our vaccines which are definitely we are hopeful. We have been told that Moderna vaccine will be allowed to come to India, and Cipla will be marketing Moderna, and that is seen in the near future. Moderna interimly has already submitted the data for 12 to 18 years clinical trial which it has conducted in the United States, and it is showing more than 95% efficacy in case of children. So if Moderna gets approval in the US FDA, there is a high chance that Moderna will be approved for usage in Indian children as well. And last but certainly not the least is the Pfizer vaccine, which is already through which the Americans and the Britishers are getting their children vaccinated. So the Pfizer vaccine, Pfizer enters into some kind of collaboration with the Indian government. There's a high chance that the Pfizer vaccine would also be available for our children. So we definitely have a lot of hope ahead of us. It's a question of time, but I'm sure that in the next 3 months, the scenario is going to be very, very, very positive.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. The next question would be, sir, the incidence of vaccine-induced thrombotic thrombocytopenia as released by the ICMR reports was 0.61 per million. But the same vaccine, AstraZeneca, has reported nearly 10 times the risk of this bleeding clotting disorder in the Europe. So could we say this that this such a low prevalence or the incidence in India could be due to underreporting of these adverse events? That is my first question. And the second thing is, because you are involved in the Sputnik trial, sir, and since Sputnik is also an antiviral vaccine, what is the risk of clotting bleeding disorder while we take Sputnik vaccine?
Two questions, one after the other. First question, I would say definitely we have underreporting. There is no way to kind of run away from the fact, because if you really look at the system of reporting, the active surveillance is only happening for 30 minutes after the vaccine is being taken. We're not even making any phone calls for the next 72 hours. I think there should be a phone call which should be done at least to these people who receive the jab for the next 72 hours to kind of monitor what kind of adverse events are happening. So we are not doing that. Along with that, the app which is being used, the COVID app, there is a provision to report the ADR. But let me tell you, in my private practice, I do my private practice also. I have come across people who have come to physicians, who will have come to physicians like me to get their ADR corrected, but they are not reporting on the COVID. So I think the government has to, number one, make more proactive search for the adverse events, as you are saying. And yes, I definitely understand that there is underreporting, but right now, with, if I can say, for the triaging of the system, we need more people to vaccinate, then more people to kind of look into the AEFI, which is of course important. The pharmacovigilance program of India can definitely play a very important role, and the National Pharmacopoeia Commission, I think, should be roped in. They're already doing it, but their more active role is expected. For your second question, Sputnik vaccine investigator brochure did mention that there can be chances of this thrombosis, and we were analyzing the D dimer levels as well. But to be the best of my understanding, at least in our, we gave 20 jabs to 20 people. We don't know how many got vaccines and how many got. It was a double blind trial. So we gave them in 3:1 proportion. So even if I consider that 13 to 14 got the jabs, none of them have come back. They've all received the jabs in January. None of them have come back with incidences of, severe pain in the calf muscle, or there have been swelling of the legs, or any kind of symptoms which we can say that they were having any kind of the vein thrombosis, and even their platelet counts were okay. So I think the Sputnik's experience, though limited, I should add this, they were limited, as well as whatever is available through the phase 3 clinical trial in Russian patients, does not mention vaccine-induced thrombocytopenia or vaccine-induced coagulability as one of the major adverse events.
Thank you, sir. This is very beautifully answered. Okay, my next question would be, what is actually the ideal time gap between two doses of vaccine? I've read recently that we actually do more harm than good by increasing the proportion of people with partial immunity, that is, just giving one dose of vaccine, because I've read that it leads to the selection of mutant variants. Of course, I understand that it is with a good epidemiological intention, that is, to give partial protection to as many people as possible. But good epidemiology does not mean good virology. So, isn't it right, sir? So, what would you think would be the ideal gap between the two doses of vaccine?
See, it has to be evidence-based medicine, evidence-driven. So currently, when you are saying the current dose, the gap between two dosage in Covishield has been increased, and this is only not evidence driven, to be honest with you, because we were facing a lot of vaccine supply issues, and we cannot really, it will be like, not correct to admit the fact that we had sent a large proportion of the vaccine to other countries where our own people needed it. So I think a decision was taken to, number one, be epidemiologically correct rather than being virologically correct, to increase the gap. and this was shown as an evidence-based decision. But as a physician, or I would say as a pharmacologist, I would have been really happy if this gap would have been increased way back in March directly to 12 weeks and not to interimly bring it down to 6 to 8 weeks. I think that has created a lot of confusion and questions.
Yes,
So
sir.
you are correct, madam, when you are saying that virologically it will result in more mutant generation, but we have to really think that even if a single dose can prevent death, because we are not looking at prevention of the infection, we are looking at preventing death, because the amount of people who can die in this country is much more than the amount of people who can die in any of the countries. So I think the epidemiologists have come to this particular consensus that a single dose can prevent death, if not infection, which should be given to the people of this country. And then, of course, with COVID appropriate behavior, if we are able to fight COVID out, the second dose will ensure that we fight COVID efficiently as well.
Thank you, sir, for such an honest answer from your part. Thank you so much. Okay. So, sir, I have still another question. Upon cell infection, some viruses they integrate into the human genome, the host genome, either as a part of their life cycle, such as in the case of retroviruses, or incidentally, such as in the case of adenoviruses. And the viral genome integration may lead to consequences for the host cell later, such as gene disruption, mutagenesis, and cell death. Since AstraZeneca and Sputnik vaccines are adenoviral-based vaccines, can we expect some similar events in the future while taking these adenoviral vaccines? I know that sir has commented already on the mRNA vaccines, and I do understand that they do not integrate nucleus. But now my question is on the adenoviral vaccines.
That's a very difficult question. So let me tell you that the mutagenicity study and the carcinogenicity studies of both vaccines are continuing. So the interim analysis has happened only on efficacy and safety in clinical trials. The animal studies are continuing. So for the larger population, let me tell you that when the vaccine gets developed, we look at every aspect, and this aspect, when we see that the risk benefit ratio is in the favor of giving the vaccine, the benefit is more than the risk, then the vaccine is given. So the clinical trials have probably tested few thousands of people in both Sputnik as well as in case of the Covishield or the AstraZeneca vaccine. But mutagenicity cannot happen in weeks or months. Mutagenicity will happen over a long period of time, and it happens over years. So currently standing today on 3rd July 2021, it will be very immaturish on my part to say that it will not lead to mutagenicity. What we can say is that the studies are continuing. The risk benefit ratio today in this scenario where this virus is killing anybody and everybody who's coming to the path, the risk of taking the vaccine is much, much less than of the benefit. So the benefit is much, much more than the risk of taking the vaccine. So because the benefit is more, and the mutagenicity studies which have still happened in terms of so long have not showed any carcinogenic effect, the manufacturer as well as the government has allowed the vaccine to be given, and we should take the vaccine. I think if there is some signal which is generated later on, definitely this will be stopped. But personally, I don't think, and I've asked this to many virologists, they really don't believe that this adenovirus, which has been selected, both the chimpanzee as well as the human adenovirus, they can integrate into the host cell like the human cell and can produce carcinogenesis. Of course, time will show us the right answer.
Thank you, sir. That was beautifully answered. Now, coming to the next question. Can mix and match of vaccines be allowed in India? If so, in the near future, which vaccines or mix and match would produce a more robust immune response? Can I have a take on that?
I think India needs to have mix and match of vaccines. This is my personal opinion. And I would say that I would give the Covaxin as the first dose, follow it up with the Covishield or a Sputnik vaccine. The reason being because I would like to have the CCTV coverage of the entire building first and then put a CCTV coverage in front of my door. So then I would be able to identify the thief who's going to come in. So once I get the whole attenuated vaccine, I will generate some antibody against the entire virus. And then when I get a booster with a Covishield or a Sputnik, I will get the antibody against the spike protein, which is the most dangerous part of the virus and is killing the human beings by entering into the host cell. So entirely with a disclaimer, this is my personal opinion because this will help a lot of people, a lot of time, and the government a lot of headache to kind of do this. But currently, standing again on 3rd July, this is not allowed. We really have data from United Kingdom now published saying that the mixing of vaccine leads to high immunogenicity, some adverse events which we can manage, but definitely immunogenicity is very, very high. So yes, I think that is the path we are walking to.
Thank you, sir. Now, another question that I would like to ask is, we have done an institutional study we were testing the antibody titer in about 240 healthcare workers after their first dose and second dose of Covishield vaccine. And it was very surprising to see that 28% of them had a fall in antibody titer after second dose when compared to the titer after first dose. Is it frequently observed phenomena, or is it due to the anti-adenoviral antibodies that could be responsible for such a phenomena? Is that the reason why Sputnik has given 2 jabs with 2 different adenovirus? So, what is your take on that question?
See, one thing is there, madam, that absence of antibodies don't mean that the person is not protected. So there are three things to consider. One is the role of the T cell mediated humoral immunity. So even if the antibodies don't come into the blood, it does not mean the person is not protected, and we have evidence literature on this. There's published literature. So when the antibody, the 20% of the people whom you are saying that there is a fall, definitely in these cases, number one, there could be a case of an adenoviral antibody being there. And Sputnik specifically has been developed for this particular reason that they have 2 different adenoviruses. And Covishield, the Oxford group has looked into this particular problem, and they have gone ahead and published saying that the anti-chimpanzee adenoviral antibody plays no role in overall immunogenicity against COVID-19. So even if the antibody comes into the blood and your antibody levels decrease, till now we don't know what is the protective antibody level. And it will require years of surveillance to understand that what is the protective antibody level. People are just doing random numbers. If you look at the hepatitis B vaccination program, the anti-HBs antibody of 10 has been decided after 10 years of surveillance. I mean, this is only 1.5 years. How can we jump into conclusion that 70 is protective and 700 is not protective? We don't know the answer at this point of time. Even I don't know the answer. So let us be honest about it, that currently if they are falling, definitely there is some immunogenicity activity happening. But even if it is falling, whatever levels they are achieving, that will not result in long-term immunity. We need studies, we need published literature. Beyond that, we are not able to comment, and we should not comment.
Yes, thank you, sir. Supposing a person has completed his 2 jabs of Covaxin, but he has to travel, and unfortunately, the Gulf countries have not approved Covaxin. In that case, in such a scenario, would there be like he is forced to take 2 doses of Covishield? In that scenario, would there be any possibility of serious adverse events if the person takes Covishield? And suppose if it is not, then after what time interval can he safely take Covishield vaccine?
So you mean to say that he has taken 2 Covishield? Can you guys repeat it? Just repeat the question once more.
Sir, he has taken 2 doses of Covaxin. Unfortunately,
Okay.
he had to travel after that, and then the Gulf countries said that Covaxin is not allowed there. So he has come to us for Covishield, and he's asking me after how many days can he take Covishield, and that was a question.
See, ideally, I would say if your travel is not that important, stay back because WHO has just received the Covaxin data on 23rd June, and Indian government is lobbying very hard. We might hear the good news very soon. So till that time, if that's not possible, go into a quarantine in the Gulf countries because they are allowing you to go into quarantine. You might not take the jab and go. So go into the quarantine and you be in the quarantine if possible. If not, and if you have to actually have the vaccine, so I think it is better to have a difference of 4 weeks at least between both jabs, the second dose and the first dose, 4 weeks difference. And frankly speaking, once you get a COVID antibody against spike, if a vaccine with a live, I would say, and killed vaccine is given, what we know the data is coming from the different parts of the world, you might have more adverse events which can be managed by simple drugs like paracetamol. So it is not going to be that you will get into a cytokine storm. It is bad because these vaccines don't produce COVID-19. So I think a gap of 4 weeks will be adequate.
Yes, sir. So this was the answer. He said after 28 days he can take it, and I'm happy that I'm not wrong. Okay, sir. So I've got a question from the chat box. I have one question for you, sir. Is there a need to take third dose for personnel who has got 2 doses in 4-week gap?
Yes, I belong to that group as well, and I seriously demand it. And I would say that the Covaxin clinical trial actually is evaluating this, and very soon we will get to hear from that particular trial that the third booster dose, what is the efficacy and the side effect of that. And we must wait, and I have a feeling that we will get a booster dose. And let me tell you, in the United Kingdom, COVID boost study is going on where we are evaluating every particular vaccine, including this Covishield, 2 doses followed by another dose after 6 months. So we will get this data come through very soon, and I have a feeling we might require a booster dose after these 2 doses. So it's only a question of time.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So I don't think there are any more questions in the chat box. And I'm so glad that you answered all my questions so honestly and very. So I am really grateful to you, sir, for all clearing all my doubts and others' doubts as well. And I promise to stick on to my time because I know you have to leave for another session at 7:15. So thank you so much, sir. And it's been a pleasure to listen to you and to be a part of this talk. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am, and thank you, Professor Jacob, for this invitation once again. It's a pleasure to be back in your medical college. I sincerely hope once this pandemic is controlled a bit, we can all meet in person in your medical college, hopefully someday.
Absolutely, Subrata. Thank you so much for coming online, and we would be more than happy to invite you to our institution once this whole situation wanes. And thank you so much for this session. It was really an eye-opener. A lot of questions, as Sangeeta said, beautifully answered and quite candidly. And thank you so much. So, Sangeeta, thank you so much for that brilliant moderation. And you have taken your time off. I see your children peeping from the back door, and I don't want to keep you away from them for their dinner. So on that note, all participants, thank you so much for coming over. I hope that this session was a really good one for you, and we sincerely hope and pray that all of us maintain the COVID appropriate behavior, and also do all that we can in our strength to get ourselves vaccinated as soon as possible. Until then, stay safe, take care. In about a week's time, we'll be having one more wonderful session, webinar from one of the from a very good speaker. So until then, take care and see you all. Bye bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye, ma'am. Bye.
Thank you, sir. Bye. Thank you. Thank you, Sangeeta.